Hey, squad mates. Before I get started with this episode, I haven't done this on this show, I don't think, but I do want to say that this episode is being sponsored by Sean Adams and by Big Danny Cool, both over at patreon.com. Again, it's patreon.com/headcastnetwork. They are my big sponsors. So again, I do want to say that they are sponsoring this show. Thank you very much, Big Danny Cool and Sean Adams, for your support and your patronage. I appreciate it. And if you want to join Sean Adams and Big Danny Cool and all the other sponsors, Bill Bear, Gene Hendricks, and then also there's some free members out there, Brian Weebler, Heinz K, Michael Minton. You can join us over at patreon.com/headcastnetwork, and you can help support the show also. But again, I do want to say a big thanks to Sean and Big Danny Cool for your sponsorship. So enough of that. Let's get started with today's episode.
Task Force X is an off-the-books government strike team made up of convicts with no hope for release, serving as expendable agents for impossible missions.
And I am Aaron Moss, a.k.a. Brotherhead, your host, Task Force X. And I'm here to chronicle the tales of the Suicide Squad.
I'm Amanda Waller. I'm here to indoctrinate you convicts into our special forces. Nobody screws the wall!
Let's go ahead and get started. Hey, squad mates. Aaron Moss, a.k.a. Brother Ed here. We're looking at episode 68 of Task Force X. Today, we're mainly looking at Suicide Squad issue number 58, but we're also going to briefly talk about the War of the Gods. As you can tell from that defeated tone of my voice, War of the Gods wasn't my favorite crossover, but we have to deal with it. So let's go and take a look. First up, Suicide Squad 58. The cover date was October of 1991. The on-sale date, September the 3rd of 1991. The cover price, $1. The title of this was Suicide Attack. This was part of the War of the Gods crossover. This was written, as usual, by John Ostrander and Kim Yell. Penciler was Jeff Isherwood. The inker was Robert Campanella. The letterer, Todd Klein. The colorist, Tom J. McCraw. And the editor was Diane Raspler. The cover was done by Jeff Isherwood and Carl Kiesel, and this was reprinted in the Suicide Squad, the Dragon's Horde trade paperback, and Wonder Woman, the War of the Gods omnibus hardcover. As usual, we'll start with the cover. The cover of this one, we've got Black Adam, Firehawk, Count Vertigo, Boomerang, Nightshade, I was going to say Deadshot, but it's Floyd, and Bronze Tiger converging on an island. Nightshade's coming out of one of her tubes. At the very top, we got our title, Suicide Squad. Right above that, it says War of the Gods, with the number 19 underneath it. This, as I mentioned, is part of the War of the Gods crossover. I tried rereading War of the Gods. I'm just not into it. I will talk about War of the Gods number 3 next because this kind of ties into it. And I remember when this came out, again, I'm big into Greek mythology, and this storyline is basically Cersei getting, if I'm not mistaken, if I read it right, she's getting the Roman and Greek and all the other gods of the DC universe to go against one another and fight, and setting their minions to one another and fighting. So that should be right up my alley, but I just not into this story. I don't know what it is. Also, I know part of it, if I'm not mistaken, when it came out, the numbers on the cover that told you what issue to read next for the storyline, those were off, and you're reading things out of order, which kind of helped back in the day mess things up. But I do like on the cover of this one, up on the top left corner where the Suicide Squad and the DC Bullet is, they replaced the normal corner banner, whatever that is on the side, where it's got like a rectangle with a lightning bolt, since Black Adam's in this issue. I do like that nice little touch. Normally it's like a triangle up there, but this month they replaced it because of the Black Adam guest star. Usually it's like a white triangle. Triangle? You're an idiot, Aaron. A rectangle. A white rectangle up there in the top corner, and they replaced that with the yellow lightning bolt to represent Black Adam. The cover itself is not bad. I mean, Black Adam looks a little wonky, but other than that, everyone else looks spot on. And again, the only one to me that looks wonky, the only one that looks wonky is one that's not a regular member of the Suicide Squad. They've also got Firehawk, who I love, from over in Firestorm. Again, Firestorm is one of my 2 biggest heroes, or favorite heroes. So I do like that Firehawk showing up here, and she looks spot on. Like I say, the only one that looks a little wanky to me, or wonky to me, is Black Adam. He's flying. But it's not a bad cover. Like I say, it was the War of the Gods, which I wasn't happy with at the time, but this issue is not a bad issue. So we start the actual story itself. So we start off with some beautiful redhead trapping through the jungle. And if you don't know who this is, the second page lets you know. She's talking to herself. She says, well, Ivy, my girl. And so we find out this is actually Poison Ivy. And she lets us know through her voice, her internal monologue, I guess, that she's been down there to renew her supply of botanical toxins and to give Count Vertigo time to get over wanting to kill her. Because the last time we saw Ivy, she had Count Vertigo under her spell, under her pheromones, and was controlling him. And once he got released, he wanted to kill her. So this is where Ivy's been since we last saw her. The first page tells us it's the Amazon rainforest. So I do like here on the first 2 pages, we find out where Ivy's been, what she's been up to. Instead of just, making her reappear, they actually explain, and even if you just started picking this series up, you'll know there's some backstory there, and it makes you want to track down and find out what happened. My only complaint, I guess, is that I would have liked it a little bit more if they would have had a editor's note with the reference to the to refer to the issue where Vertigo is upset with her. But again, just to refer people back to it. But again, that's just a minor nitpick. I mean, they do have references to previous issues in these books, so unlike a lot of current stories, well, I won't get into that right now, but yeah, it's good artwork. It's standard Suicide Squad, Jeff Fisherwood and Robert Campanella doing the and then Tom McGraw on on the colors, doing a fantastic job. So, and I like this. She's trying to wonder if there's some sort of way that she can make money off these Amazonians, whoever is in the Amazon rainforest. It's not Amazonia, it's from Amazon. Anyways, but she's watching the natives when this dark-looking man, wolf creature, whatever, jumps out and attacks her. Again, this would be very nice if it was like a TV show. We'd get this and then the credits would play, or even a movie, the credits would start playing, get our title screen. Nice little intro to the story here. And then we cut back to the Institute of Metahuman Studies outside Pittsburgh. Again, since the whole Suicide Squad exploded thing and Amanda got in trouble, they've been operating out of the Metahuman Studies. Again, this is something that I believe it was created by John Ostrander. I know it showed up over in Firestorm. It showed up here. If I'm not mistaken, it showed up over in the Spectre, who was writing at this time. Again, that's one thing, as I've talked about before, I do love that John has his own little universe going on. I mean, it ties into the main books, into the DC universe as a whole, but he's also got his own little tight continuity here where he uses characters and places and villains and stuff throughout his different books. So I do like the ties that John does in this. Fantastic. Again, one of the reasons why I think John's a fantastic writer. But we get Mari leaving. She's packing her bags, and we get her and Ben having a little conversation. Again, I like the character development here. Again, that's one thing I think John does wonderfully in these books is the character development of these different characters. Again, we get a little more backstory about, Mari saying what's going on, how she's upset. She's not upset with John, but she's just tired and she needs to take a break. She can't stay in a relationship right now, but that she needs to distance herself from him and the team for right now. And again, this page 3, kind of frustrates me. The fact that this is another classic example of something we could have gotten from the Suicide Squad movie. Because again, they changed race of characters to have more, in quotes, representation, but they've got perfectly good African-American characters here that they could have fit both Mari and Ben into the Suicide Squad movie. And again, these two characters have a history. They could have gotten some, more, instead of just shoot 'em up, bang, bang, they could have got some character development. And I don't know, I've had my complaints about the Suicide Squad movie, and I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again, but I think that they missed out on some real opportunities to get some fascinating actual Suicide Squad characters in the movie, and to get some people of color, if you will, without changing characters' races or whatever else. I mean, there's some great characters in here, and I wish that they would have used a little bit more, again. But again, I'm going off on a tangent here. Let's get back to the Suicide Squad comic I'm referring to. But yeah, I do love this scene between Ben and Mari. It's fantastic. And then we cut outside where we have Mazer and Firehawk and some other Catalyst. That's the other guy's name. And Silver Swan. I was trying to remember. That's Silver Swan's from Wonder Woman. It's Firehawk, as I've talked about, it's from the Firestorm comic. And these other two, Mazer and Catalyst, is from the Captains of Industry, which is, I believe that was I'm not sure if that was a group that John created or if he just used them over here. But again, this gets some a little more backstory, a little more character development on these characters. But like as they're landing, Firehawk's introducing the Silver Swan. She said she met her up in Africa, which refers back to the War of the Gods 2. And I like this. I think this is Mazer is like, I don't know, but didn't she used to be one of the bad guys? And about that time, Black Adam in a suit comes landing. And Firehawk's like, oh, speaking of bad guys. And Mazer walks up to Black Adam like, hello, this is the Institute for Metahuman Studies. Can I help you, mister? And Firehawk's trying to stop him as Black Adam just backhands him and sends him flying across the campus. Again, Black Adam. And that's one thing that I'm going to complain about, because that's kind of my thing, is that a lot of times they take a lot of these villains and they try to make them more, I don't want to say interesting, but I think that's what they're trying to do. But they try to give them more of a misguided hero instead of a villain twist. I know, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, before I got out of comics, they were doing that quite a bit, like Lex Luthor and a lot of other villains. They were trying to say, well, they're not really villains. They're just misunderstood, or they're doing the right thing, the wrong thing for the right reasons, and blah, blah, blah. I like when a villain is a villain. And sometimes the villain, sometimes a person is just a villain. They don't have this tragic backstory, or they're not, I don't know. And again, this is not really a complaint for what's going on here. This is Black Adam. He's a villain. And again, instead of talking, first thing he does is just smacks Mazer out of the way. And meanwhile, while Firehawk's trying to talk Black Adam down, I forget his name, Catalyst, is coming on to Silver Swan. Hey, little bird, while these children play, why don't we go off and make some sport of our own, eh? She's like, ew. I just love that, we got a supervillain smacking his teammate across the campus, and all Catalyst can think about is getting busy with Silver Swan, who is a very beautiful woman, so I don't blame him, but that's another story entirely. And as both Firehawk and Silver Swan attack Black Adam in no real effect, Catalyst, I'm trying to see if Catalyst is actually doing anything. I don't think so. He just got knocked down by a tree. He's not even trying to help, it looks like. But I'm looking for someone. You're getting in my way. And again, this is Black Adam. This isn't the Rock version of the Black Adam. This is the actual Black Adam. Which, again, I'm not going to complain about the Black Adam movie. We'll save that for another time. Because Black Adam's not really a thing here except for in this storyline. So let's move on. And we get the next page, we get Amanda Waller in the hospital bed, and it's like, bring me the one that called Amanda Waller or die. And we get Amanda kind of wrapping up the last couple of issues. The last story arc was like 5 issues as she's talking to Mark Shaw and just kind of catching us up on what's going on and maybe setting up for other stories. But she's telling him that, Ben's heard from this janissary that he used to know over in Lebanon who wants to work for the squad. And apparently he says that Mark can vouch for him, someone named John Henry Martin. And Mark's sitting at his desk, his feet kicked up on his desk, kind of relaxes as he's talking. So John Henry's alive. Why am I not amazed? Yeah, I know him. Nickname's Outlaw. He was a conduit in hard time when the Medellin bomb went off. And that was back during the invasion, which we talked about. Gave him a tough hide, lots of muscle, but no control. So can snap your spine with a pat on the back. I never mean to do it. And Amanda's like, what's he like as a person? Can we work with him? And again, he tells him he's rough, hard, decent enough in his own fashion, but he's been out of prison all his life. He should be there now. If he enters the States, they'll nab him. She's like, okay, that's what we'll use him only on cases outside the country. He's in on your say-so. And again, she's been offering Mark a position in the squad, and Mark keeps turning her down. And again, this whole dialogue here brings up another complaint I have. Again, not about what John's doing. John's doing a fantastic job, just to kiss John's butt a little bit more. But the more recent, the last couple of decades version of the Suicide Squad, they've relied heavily on Harley Quinn. And again, I keep saying that the real Amanda Waller, written by John, and that's why I consider the real Amanda Waller, because he's the one that gave us Amanda Waller, or at least what we have here. She would never rely so much on Harley Quinn. Because again, as she says here, she's trying to find people to vouch for this new guy, Outlaw. And, she just wouldn't. She might use Harley, don't get me wrong. She'll use anyone she can, but I don't think she would rely so much on her. That's one thing I think a lot of these newer books are going wrong. And just because Harley Quinn's very popular right now, they're relying on her, in my opinion, way too much. But again, that's for modern complaints. Let's get back to some good stories. And again, so she's trying to get, like I said, she's trying to get Mark to join up the team and help lead her right now, because she's, ped up, and she says that LaGrieve is throwing a sticker in the booby hatch. She tries getting up too soon. But she's telling him, you can pick your mission, keep your day job. It's a good trade-off. You get an adrenaline fix and help humanity, keeping me honest. And Mark's all, that's not a part-time job. That's a career. So, ho, 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 ho. And he's like, give me a call when if you need me, we'll talk. So again, he's not turning her down completely. He's just not willing to go, quotes, full-time with the Suicide Squad, which again, can't really blame him. The team's called the Suicide Squad for a reason. And as LaGrieve comes in, there's talking about how she's doing and how things are going. Catalyst comes flying through the wall, and LaGrieve's like, there's a man outside calling himself Black Adam, and he's meeting with you on his terms. He's meeting with you, or he turns the institute into a crater. His choice of words, by the way. And she's like, I like a man who doesn't mince words. She gets her suit to get back on, a robe, I guess, not her suit, a robe, to go out and deal with Black Adam. And so basically, in between scenes, he catches Amanda up on what's going on with the War of the Gods, the first 2 issues. And we get kind of a rundown here that, all the nasty stuff that's been happening is due to Cersei, who's holed up in an island in a lake in the Amazon rainforest. Amazon rainforest. Why does that sound familiar? And again, she gives us a kind of a rundown. This island's guarded by werebeasts and some Mideast Amazons who are distant but vicious cousins of Wonder Woman. So I guess they were Amazonians that she was watching earlier. Ivy was watching earlier in the issue. And she's like, feelings, for whatever reason, that the formal power you already got isn't enough. You come to me? Anyway, you want us to combine forces, go take out this witch. What you're basically asking for is warm bodies for cannon fodder to draw enemy fire while you go after Cersei yourself. And he's like, it's the best way. And again, like she said, at least he doesn't mince words. He's honest. He's a villain. He's a bit of a jerk, but he's honest. Yeah, I want you guys for cannon fodder, basically. As I was just talking a few minutes ago, she's like, what makes you think my people agree to do it? Your group title is the Suicide Squad, correct? That's the sort of thing that Suicide Squads do, is it not? It's like, why don't you grab a few atomic bombs and nuke the place? He said, because that way I don't get to see their blood spurt. Again, very bloodthirsty villain Black Adam is. And as he says, the blood atom bombs may not work against magic. And before we launch a follow-up attack, Cersei will be warned and gone. And she's like, and what if we decline this little clam bake? Then I will see your blood spurt, yours and everyone else in a 100-mile radius. I do have that kind of power, and I will use it. Also, Cersei will triumph, and it'll be her world. I want to be mine. Right now, she is the more immediate threat. And he's like, on that point, I agree. But we need more warm bodies. The more we got going in, the better the chances of more returning. So if the Fate, Mazer, Firehawk, you other two, you're in on this. She just, again, and I love, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love the way John writes Amanda here. Again, and that's, again, I'm not, don't complain. But that's one of my complaints about the Suicide Squad movie is the way that she will use people to her own ends. But unlike in the Suicide Squad movie, the first one, she's not going to kill her support staff just because they've seen too much. That's not Amanda. Amanda is a bit of a hard ass. She is willing to do what it takes, but she's not a cold-blooded murderer. She's not going to murder her people just because, in quotes, they've seen too much. So that, the more I read these good comics, the more that first Suicide Squad movie just irritates me. And before the series ends, I need to watch the second one again and do a commentary track on that one. But that's for another time. So anyway, she calls for Boomerang, Nightshade, and Deadshot to get together. And she wants Mazer to go down and get some pictures of the area. That way Nightshade can teleport them in because she just needs a visual. And she mentions she'll bring this John Henry Martin character up too. And I like this. Mazer's like, excuse me, is there a reason I should be taking orders from you? And again, Mazer's got superpowers. He's a superhero. Amanda's just an ordinary human, but she just grabs him by the cape and says, yes, because I'm a sick old woman who's trying to save the world. And if you give me any back talk, I will get up out of my deathbed and skin you alive, starting where it's the most sensitive. You understand me? And he's like, yes, ma'am. I just love Amanda Waller. She's very much in your face and very much, again, she's a short, squat black woman who has no powers, but she's willing to, pull the superhero's cape, pull him into her face and tell him, you know what? You're going to do what I say because otherwise I'll kick your butt. And again, it throws me back to issue, I think it was 10, where she went up against Batman. Again, she just doesn't mind telling people how it is. That's who Amanda is. And then Black Adam's like, everyone who has one should be in costumes. It's like, why? We go in and fight gods and magic. Ceremonial garb has value and should be worn. And so we cut a short time later, we got a room full of people, and we get Black Adam, Amanda, and Legrieve talking, and kind of giving us a who's who, if you will. Adam's like, this is the best you could do. And so Amanda's kind of going over who's in the room. They've got the Sportsmaster, a new Sportsmaster, the Enforcer, a kid named Karma, who used to run with the Doom Patrol. That was back when Paul Kupperberg wrote the book. Javelin, Major Victory, and he was over there by Firehawk. And Legrieve's like, called himself the writer, said he was writing himself into the story. And then again, we cut over to the writer talking to Firehawk and Silver Swan. And he's saying, see, my problem was once I actually wrote myself into the story, technically I became part of the continuity, and now someone else is controlling me, as I used to control my characters. It's horrible. And just a real quick, not necessarily recap, but a real quick mention about the writer. This comes from Animal Man. And Grant Morrison was writing the Animal Man series for DC, which, again, I plan on covering somewhere, some point, somehow on my Headcast network. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, if I'm going to slide into Head Speaks or do its own series on it for at least the first 26 issues that Grant was writing it. So if you haven't read that series, or if you plan on listening to my podcast whenever I'm doing with it, you may want to skip the next couple of minutes. But real quick, over in Animal Man, again, this is spoilers for the first 2 years, just over 2 years of Animal Man, which I'll be covering at some point. Buddy Baker, who was Animal Man, he's had some tragedy. His family was killed off, and he found out that there was someone that was, in quotes, writing a story. So he went to Grant Morrison's home, where they discussed Buddy's nature of existence. Grant explained that, he's a writer, so he controls every aspect of Buddy's life. Buddy became angry, because again, Morrison admitted to the killing Buddy's family off. And Grant explained that, it makes the drama, makes the story better, more realistic to have the death in there. And he uses the comics to help explore animal rights. It's his mouthpiece, as it says, to explore the issues of animal rights. And that's why he's writing Animal Man, and he figured Animal Man would be the best character to touch on animal rights. And again, I think this was around issue 26 of Animal Man when Grant was leaving. He said that was the last issue, and there'd be a new writer soon. And Buddy's like, well, yeah, he wants his family back. So he said the discussions become boring, and he provided Buddy some villains to fight. And again, it says here, I'm reading from the dc.fandom.com Wikipedia on this. It says that while Animal Man was defeated by the villains, while Grant thanked the editors and artists who helped make the book, and named specific readers who wrote in and inspired him. Morrison noted it's only a comic, and Buddy was actually all right. Before leaving, he seemed to have a sudden change of heart about Buddy's family, and he disappeared from the page. He told Animal Man to forget they ever met. Suddenly, Buddy was in his home. His family's alive and well. And he cried tears of joy. And this is the next appearance of the writer after that. Again, he was pulled into the service by the Suicide Squad. So again, John is using the Grant Morrison character that Grant Morrison created of himself to pet in the Animal Man comic. Very, very in story, very, I'd say tongue-in-cheek, but very... I don't know, I'm not sure the right word I'm looking for, but very metatextual that, Grant created this character to interact with his character. And now that he's created that character, John was able to pull the character over to the Suicide Squad, which met him firmly in the DC universe. So I love the writer. He's only had a couple appearances, which we'll get to in just a few minutes in the story. But I do love this concept of Grant Morrison writing himself into the story and becoming part of DC continuity, and then other writers running with that. It's just fantastic. And I wonder, I would love to talk to John and find out if he got permission from Grant to do this, or this was a DC decision, or where the decision came for him to bring the writer into here. It's fantastic. And then at the very bottom of the splash panel, we get Ben talking to John Henry, aka Outlaw. I think it's the first appearance of the Outlaw. Again, I went to look to make sure. I didn't think to look about that, but oops, I'm just doing a quick search on Outlaw on the internet real quick. Okay, I know this guy. Yeah, he appeared over, and that's why she was talking to Mark Shaw about it, because he first appeared over in Manhunter, which we covered over on the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. His first appearance was Manhunter 16, which I did cover. I forgot about this guy. So this is his next appearance, I guess, after he appeared over in Manhunter. He showed up here in the Suicide Squad briefly. I'd forgot about that. So this is his next appearance after he showed up over Manhunter. And then we cut back to Amanda talking to Nightshade. She's telling Nightshade that she wants her to stick close to Black Adam. And once the attack begins, Nightshade's like, I take it you don't trust him? You got a career as a comedian ahead of you, girl. You know that? Take whoever's at hand and don't let him out of your sight. Once things start popping, he's got his own agenda, and the welfare of the Suicide Squad is not a big priority with him. As we've already determined, since he referred to them as, he wants them because they are the Suicide Squad. And it's a coloring error. It's supposed to be, or if it's the light or what. But here on the bottom of page 10, Nightshade's costume, which is normally like black and purple, it's now a dark red and just a regular red. So I don't know if it was miscolored or what happened there, but just a slight little coloring error happens. But again, I love this here on page 10. It's a big splash panel with two small panels at the bottom. But yeah, we get this splash panel that's introducing all these characters. And in case you're not familiar with them, you can kind of figure out who they are with Amanda talking. Because again, Javelin's got the Javelin, of course. The writer kind of explains himself. We don't get... She mentions the Forcer and Karma, but we don't get called out who each one of them is. I know they are because, again, I remember Karma from the Doom Patrol, and I know I've seen the Enforcer. I'm just not sure where I've seen her at, but that costume looks familiar. But yeah, I love these big group splash panels or splash pages that we get all these people. Fantastic. And then we get these people are all talking. We get Deadshot. Well, again, Floyd, because again, he's kind of gave up the Deadshot identity for now. Cleaning and disassembling his weapons on a desk there as everyone else standing around talking. Boomerang is standing there with the boomerang in his hand, I guess showing it off, while Javelin showing off his, in quotes, javelin. It's just fantastic the way these characters are interacting. And John's got them grouped up and talking in little groups, all doing things. Fantastic. And then back here on page 11, we get more of the writer talking to Firehawk and Silver Swan. He's like, so I script what's going to happen here on the computer, you see, and then it happens, and usually happens unless reality goes too fast. But sometimes the writer who is now writing me intervenes, then I have to see what's about to happen. Look. And then we see this computer screen where it says panel 3. Black Adam gestures at what John Henry is wearing. John Henry squints at him. Turner smiles a little. Black Adam, you don't have a costume? JH, I know who I am. I ain't so sure about you, fancy pants. And then panel 3, and the next one down, we get actually what they just described. Ben sniggering as Black Adam, and Outlaw is having this little conversation that we just watched the writing for. And again, I love the metatextual, the meta response there or whatever of John penning a script in the book so we can see how the writer works. Again, I love how, again, that's one thing I like about the writer character, because he knows he's in a comic book. He knows that there's someone out there dictating their actions. And while he can control things a bit from in the comic, the writer outside controls things. It's really weird if you stop and think about it. And it can kind of I don't know, it can kind of mess with your mind just thinking about the way that works out. And the writer's like, see, I knew he was going to say that. And I'm not sure if I would have to look and see it. I'm assuming this is what's supposed to, Grant Morrison looked like at the time, I'm assuming, except for he's really pale, pasty face white almost. Actually, he is white, like Joker clown white. But I don't know if Grant was pasty faced at the time or why he's so white, or if it's just the fact that he wrote himself into the story kind of made it that way. But see, I'm going to have to go back and look at that issue of Animal Man when he appeared. But again, we'll cover that over somewhere either on Head Speaks or maybe I'll do an Animal Man podcast. I'm not quite sure what direction I'm going to go with. I'm going to finish it. Before I start any more podcasts, I am going to finish off this one in Starman, which should be coming to an end the next 6-8 months or so. And then I'll decide whether to start another podcast on something, because I've got several ideas. Like I've talked about here and over Head Speaks, I want to cover Animal Man, at least the first 2 years. Hawk and Dove, they had a 28-issue run plus the 5-issue limited series that started it. I want to cover that. And there's a couple of other books. The Teen Titans I want to cover. That'll probably be a show of its own, because I'm going to cover quite a bit of the Teen Titans. But again, that's kind of getting in the head of where I'm at now. And again, we get to Karma doing some thought balloons, saying that he's really beginning to wonder about all this, getting the charges against him dropped. But it's not going to mean anything if it's himself killed. And I guess he can avoid the blow if he knows it's coming. But if he doesn't know the blow's coming, he can't really avoid it. So that's kind of his predicament. So, and again, I vaguely remember Karma from the, again, I believe he was in the Paul Kupperberg written Doom Patrol series, if I'm not mistaken. Again, that's what I'd have to look and see, which I guess I could do while I'm talking to you guys. But so just pulling up real quick. Yeah, again, from the DC fandom page, Karma, I guess there was 2 characters called Karma. The first one was Wayne Hawkins, which remember the Doom Patrol, and the Suicide Squad. So that's this guy. The guy's Wayne. He has psychic powers that can disrupt the motor reflexes of his opponents. And then there was an enemy of in the Batman and the Outsiders book. There was a guy, Fleet Delmar, who called himself Karma, and he can read people's minds with a psychic helmet. And yeah, this Wayne Hawkins, this version of Karma was created by the great Paul Kupperberg and Steve Lytle. First appeared in Doom Patrol number 4 in 1988. So again, I really liked, I think it was Grant that took on Doom Patrol later. It made it more weird, brought into the Vertigo world. I enjoyed that, but honestly, I more preferred the Paul Kupperberg superhero version compared to the Grant, I think it was Grant Morrison, weird British oddity that it would soon become. And that's where Karma was from the Paul Kupperberg, when it was actual superheroes instead of the weird, whatever it become later on, when it became started to become part of the Vertigo universe. And finally, Amanda's, okay, enough socializing, time to get this show on the road. In sheer numbers, the odds are against you. But you've got a fair amount of people here who are supposedly invulnerable. Your best odds of coming back alive are to hit the targets hard and fast. You let them bog you down, and it's going to be a bloodbath. And then we cut over to the Amazons torturing Poison Ivy, want to know why she was spying on them. And again, they're speaking Amazonian or whatever, and Ivy doesn't speak. So they're like, now, sister, are you ready to tell us why you're spying on us? And she's like, oh, hell, look, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you want. Doesn't anyone here speak English? You can't do this to me. I know my rights. I want to call my lawyer. And again, so there's something weird going on the land. They're blaming Poison Ivy because, again, they're kind of the backwards Amazon. I'm trying to think the best way to describe them. But yeah, very, very superstitious. And again, usually I scoff at that. But in a world where, gods are currently fighting in the universe, you can't scoff too much at it. And then another Amazon comes running in, letting them know they're under attack. Superheroes appear at the lake and are swarming all over. And we get one of these man beasts that attacked Ivy early on, standing in a window here on page 12. And again, Ivy's hanging in her panties and a tank top. As my buddy Shag would say, hot. No, you just say hot. It's Kevin over my G.I. Joe show that would say, hot? A very beautiful redhead woman. But we cut over here on page 13, a beautiful splash page of the Suicide Squad attacking. The heroes that can fly are flying. Some, like Vertigo, is carrying Boomerang and Floyd. Nightshade's opening a port for some of the others jumping out. The writer is, again, I love this. The writer's running out of the water, typing on his keyboard. And again, remember, this story came out in 1989, I'm going to say. No, 91. This came out in 91. So we didn't have laptops like we do now. So I do like the way that the artist, I don't know if this is like a military keyboard or where he got the idea to do this, but because again, I don't know when the first laptop like I've got it came out. I know my early ones was thick. So, and that was in the mid to late 90s. And I know the 80s, I got it in 84. I had a in quotes, portable Apple IIc computer, which, it wasn't portable like it is now. I mean, everything was encased. The keyboard and the tower, in quotes, was encased in a box you could carry, but then it had a big monitor you had to carry separately. It was crazy. But yeah, they got it all combined in one thing here, so he can wear it around his neck, right? Like a shoulder holder, not a shoulder, but around his neck, and it's holding in front of him so he can type as he's running. Fantastic. Ben's leading the charge because that's who Ben is. And again, then we get to here the next couple of pages, we get some fight scenes. Again, here about on page 14, just a beautiful fight scene with Black Adam punching one of the were-monsters, Catalyst grabbing one, Mazer in the background, and Major Victory fighting these were-creatures in the background. Virgo's flying in the air with Silver Swan. Nightshade, can't forget to mention her. I love these fight scenes. We get some Amazons jumping off guns, shooting at our heroes. And here on page 15, we get Outlaw being attacked by these Amazonians, and he's like, "Oh, my daddy told me never hit ladies, but my daddy's dead, and you don't strike me much as ladies." As he grabs two Amazons, just cracks their heads together, whap. Fantastic. And Nightshade again is watching Black Adam as Black Adam runs off, and again she's like, "So, man, I had it pegged right. You, Javelin, follow me quietly." Quietly in the middle of a war? How is anything done quietly in the middle of a war? And as they take off to follow Black Adam, of course, Boomerang sees it, so he follows along. Yeah, what's with this lot then? Wherever they're going, it's away from the middle of all this, and that's right by me. And I love Nightshade. She has these little shadow dragons or whatever coming off of her. Fantastic. And then here on page 16, we get the writers like, Amazon nearest rider gets hit by stray bullets. Boing! And behind him we see an Amazon getting hit by a stray bullet. Boing! Werebeast attacking rider bursts into flame due to spontaneous combustion. Boom! Yarg! We see that going on, a werebeast behind him catching on fire. He's like, bugger, writer's block. And on the screen it says, see you. The writer looks up from his screen. Panicked, the shadow of a great werebeast falls across him. The beast is about to strike. It says writer, small, bugger, writer's block. Writer, small, I think I'm about to. And then this panel, the next panel, he's saying that, bugger, writer's block. And as the were creature reaches out for him, I think I'm about to. And we get the werebeast pulling off the little portable keyboard, a little portable computer, as he kills the writer. So this was the writer's, second appearance and his final appearance. And again, it's one thing I remember about the Suicide Squad is that they brought this writer character into here and killed him off in the same issue. Because again, the writer as a character could be a very powerful character if done, in quotes, right. Not that anyone's done him wrong, but handled a certain way, he can become a very powerful character. So I think that they do feel that they needed to get rid of him. And since Grant, and again, it was just in one story, and oh man, they could have just left it alone. But I do like that John pulled him into the story just to kill him off. It's fantastic, and I don't think anyone ever reused him from what I'm looking at. They've had other characters that's kind of interacted, or other writers have interacted with their characters before, but nothing like this, in my opinion. So fantastic. So yeah, just love. I love the writer and the way he was used in here. Fantastic. And then we get back to the main fighting where Major Victory's like, "Watch those lasers, son. Aim to win if at all possible." And I forget his name now, but I think Major Victory was the one talking, and the guy in the red and blue and white costume, he's like, "Gotcha, Major." Meanwhile, Floyd's like, "The hell with it. Take out their knees." And so he's just, we're getting Floyd. He's just an ordinary human with a lot of guns. So he's just blasting away at these monsters. And meanwhile, Vertigo's leading the charge into the temple. He's like, oh, this way. We're clearing the path to the temple. Follow us in. Actually, I think he's more like Eastern European. So, this way, all of you. We're clearing the path to the temple. Follow us in. And Silver Swan's like a real count. And he's generous. Or gorgeous generous. Can't even read. He's gorgeous. So Silver Swan's kind of falling for our Count Vertigo. And I think this may be the sports master, whoever it is, fighting with Ben. He's like, hey, my man, doing that chop socky junk. I'll see if I can do it. He's like, fight your battles, punk, and I'll fight mine. And meanwhile, Karma's like, I can make him miss me all day, but there's too many for me to cope with. I've got to get out before and he's saying that one of the Amazon leaps up with a gun and blasts him, I believe, killing Karma here. So again, John is fulfilling the purpose of the Suicide Squad. He's taking some of these characters that's only made a couple appearances or hasn't appeared in a while, and he's killing them off. And that's one good thing about, because again, that's kind of, I'm stopping myself as I speak. That's a common discussion between comics and comic fans and how to handle characters. Some say, well, if you're not going to use them, put them on a bus and put them out of town and let the next writer handle them. And others say, well, if you're not going to use them, kill them off and let someone else recreate it or make a new character. I'm fine either way. I mean, sometimes, yes, I like, paying a character out to pasture for a while and letting someone else deal with it if they want to in the future. But I also like, especially like in the Suicide Squad book, it makes it seem more real. I don't like using that word with comic books, but it shows that there is actions to what these characters are doing. There is repercussions of fighting, and not always everyone's going to walk away and make it home. So like John can take some of these unused characters and make something with them. And again, if someone wants to reuse the character, they can always make a new character using that code name later on. So, which was the case in Karma's. Another character came along later. So, and Count Vertigo and Silver Swan find Ivy, and she's changed. She's like, please, whoever it is, let me down. I'll do whatever you want. And Vertigo's like, would you now? Ask to be degraded then? Beg to be humiliated? Proclaim your desire to be completely helpless and enthralled to die? Well, Ivy, what is your answer? Pretty poison. And she's like, oh, crap. I love here on page 18 where Vertigo finds her, and, now she's at his mercy, and she's like, oh, I'm screwed. And all of a sudden the building starts shaking, falling apart. And Vertigo's like, he turns and runs off. He's like, no, don't leave me like this. This place is coming apart at the seams. Please don't leave me like this. And we cut outside the jungle where we hear the rumble and everything shaking. And apparently the island's breaking up, destroying itself. And Mazer, that's the guy in the red, white, and blue costume, is following Captain Victory earlier. Captain Victory tells him to change into a light beam, reach all the people, tell them to retreat. And again, we have Floyd watching one of the Amazons take out the sports master. And as he kills off the Amazon, one of the cat people, whatever attack, I guess not a cat, it's a wolf type creature. He's like, jumps at Floyd, and Floyd's like, bad dog, play dead, as he shoots him point blank in the face. And then we get the team retreating from the island. And again, the ones that can fly are carrying somebody. Sportsmaster's left to run off on her own. And here on page 21, a fantastic shot of the temple just exploding. And they care, what the heck? Everything explodes around them. And as they're reconvening, Firehawk sees Major Victory. He's got Poison Ivy. She's like, who's this? I found her strung up while I was zapping around the island. I'm sorry, it's not Major, Mazer. I found her strung up while I was zapping around the island, started shaking itself to pieces. I thought I'd better get her out. Ben's like, Poison Ivy? What the hell was she doing there? I love the look on Count Vertigo's face, like, damn it, he got her out. Because he was hoping that, again, she would be a part of the Suicide Squad and die in this issue. But nope, Mazer helped save Poison Ivy, so she'd be around for later issues. And at the end of the issue, the last page, as my friends Chris Shreen and Reggie over on the Cosmic Treadmill podcast, another great podcast. Unfortunately, Reggie has passed away. I believe Reggie or Chris is still doing podcasts. I haven't talked to him recently, but they've got so I was reading one of their email addresses. I say that they got some great shows over on the Cosmic Treadmill, talking about different things with comics and fantastic. But that's where I was going. But they call him Crying Pariah, I believe it is. Pariah, who shows up during all these major events. He first showed up in the Crisis, he shows up wailing like he does. And Firehawk's, oh my God, Pariah? And Silver Swan's, you know that guy? Yes, I met him during the crisis. He's doomed to show up weeping at the sight of any great calamity or disaster. Whatever the hell's going on, I'm afraid it's about to get worse. And then it says, find out how bad things get. Check out the concluding issues of War of the Gods. And then join us next month as we begin to unravel the mystery of the atom. So, again, that is the War of the Gods crossover for the Suicide Squad. This wasn't, I wasn't a fan of the War of the Gods, but I enjoyed this part of the crossover. And I like here at the end, they have the next issue box, and they have like a little image showing the atom laying on the ground with Batman, Superman, and Aquaman standing over him. And it says, for 18 months, the Atom's death has remained a mystery. Now some of his oldest friends are asking questions. Read Suicide Squad 59 through 62. It's a 4-issue story arc, which is the next 4 issues of the Suicide Squad. I'll be covering either 1 or 2 episodes. I'm not sure if we're going to do it all at one time, or I'll probably break up in 2 different episodes. But that's coming up next month. But we're not quite done yet. We're going to take a quick commercial break because, I've been going almost an hour, so recording time. So I'm going to play some promos for some upcoming podcasts, and I will be right back with the continuation and the final part of this episode.
We'll be back with much more fun. Now don't you change that channel, son.
Oh, hi, Dr. Sterner.
Hello, Paul. How are you doing these days?
Yeah, I'm good. Since you, cured me of my DC OCD, I've got so much more time on my hands. It's been for the best.
Well, personally and professionally, I'm quite proud of what we have achieved, but I have some bad news for you, Paul.
What?
There's something missing without your DC OCD there.
Oh.
I've even heard friends of yours been saying you're basic, little boring. There's no there.
Oh, what should we do about it?
My God, I hate to have to say this, but we have to go bring it back somehow.
Well, shall we do some more sessions and I can use them to talk about DC events that we haven't covered, like Dark Crisis and Fear State, those sorts of things?
I think that might be for the best, Paul. Let's reconvene in 2024 for more sessions of DC OCD.
And that'll make me interesting?
We will see, Paul. We will see.
Come in, Aaron Moss, codename Head. I have an important mission for you, son. I need you to podcast about G.I. Joe, a real American hero, the comic book series previously published for Marvel Comics, currently being put out by IDW. Which issues, General Hawk? Issues? Well, son, you're going to cover the entire run, plus the yearbooks, special missions, order battle, everything, along with the cartoon. Wowzer, sir. That's a mighty large mission. That's why I'm assigning you several other Joes as they're available to help. And how do I report my findings? Monthly, at our main site, GIJoe.headspeaks.com, on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Submit your report under G.I. Joe, a real American Headcast. Anything else, sir? You can get further information on the social medias, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, all under G.I. Joe, a real American Headcast. Dismiss, soldier. Yes, sir. And now I know. And knowing is half the battle.
Yo, Joe.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
And his name is
A damn fine cup of coffee.
Do you enjoy comic books? Do you perhaps enjoy reading said comics while also consuming a tasty beverage? Well, hello, my friend. I am the caffeinated Clinton Robinson, and I invite you to join me on the Coffee and Comics podcast, where I look at a random comic roughly in the span of time it takes to have a nice little coffee break. So if you enjoy casual comics discussion and references potentially even more dated and randomly strung together than the ones in this promo, be sure to check out the Coffee and Comics podcast, available on all the most brewtastic podcast apps.
Drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Hey, where are all my comic books?
commercials over, don't you know? Now it's time to watch the show.
And welcome back. Now we're going to talk a little about the War of the Gods number 3. This was the War of the Gods miniseries. It was a 4-issue series, as I talked about. Issue 3 was cover dated November of 1981. The on-sale date was September the 10th, 1991. The cover price was 75 cents. Note, This issue, and I believe every issue of this series, contained a mini poster insert. The title of this one was called Casualties of War. The writer-penciler was George Perez. The inker, there were several on this. Inkers were Russell Braun, Pablo Marcos, Vince Guerrero, Scott Hanna, Romero Tangali. The writer was Albert Tobias de Guzman. The colorist, Eugene D'Angelo. The editor was Karen Berger. The cover was done by the amazing George Perez. This was reprinted in a bunch of different places. There was a variant cover of this issue. There was the Wonder Woman War of the Gods trade paperback, which came out in 2016. Wonder Woman by George Perez Omnibus, Volume 3, hardcover in 2018. Wonder Woman, the War of the Gods Omnibus hardcover 2020. Wonder Woman by George Perez, Volume 6, trade paperback 2021. And then there was a Wonder Woman War of the Gods Special Edition number 3, came out in 2023. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to cover the cover, talk about the cover like I normally do, and then I'm just going to skip through the issue and talk about the parts pertinent to the Task Force X, the Suicide Squad bits. And I'm not really going to delve into the rest of it very much unless something as I'm passing through, something catches my eye. So the War of the Gods, number 3. We get Pariah on the cover, doing his classic crying, floating in the air. We get Wonder Woman holding Wonder Girl, I believe. We get Javelin coming in through one of Nightshade's portals. We get Cersei attacking Black Adam. Nightshade's there coming through another portal. We see Silver Swan in the background with Bronze Tiger. And some other characters floating around in the background. There's probably some Amazons, some Animal Men, some of Nightshade's night creatures, whatever you want to call them, coming around. And scattered around the room. Okay, get the Hawks up here in the top corner. Starman, can't forget Starman. And then scattered around the room, we have some golden spheres showing different images. We have one of Troya crying, some little, I mean, it's Billy Batson laying down on something. I think it may be Animal Man with Dr. Fate. Yeah, because Animal Man was involved in this. So it's kind of showing other scenes from the book scattered throughout here. No, almost missed him. Boomerang. Captain Boomerang's on the very edge of the cover. Very nice. So overall, it's a good cover. It kind of shows what's going on. I like these little blurbs across the cover that shows us different things that's going on in the book. And then we get the main action of Cersei versus Black Adam with the Suicide Squad coming in. Again, while I wasn't a fan of War of the Gods, per se, I do like this cover. It kind of catches everything that's going on. And again, I mentioned earlier on the Suicide Squad cover that had a lightning bolt because Black Adam. Actually, it looks like that's the lightning bolt is maybe the cover on the War of the Gods books. I didn't really notice that. I'm going to take a look at the other. Yeah, I'm looking at the other covers real quick. And yeah, it looks like that lightning bolt was the theme for the War of the Gods books. So that wasn't necessarily for Black Adam. It was just that was their trade dress for War of the Gods books. Interesting. And then let me see real quick. Let's move on. So again, we're going to start the story off. We get some Amazonians coming in talking to Cersei, who's watching the Suicide Squad come in. She's watching a globe where she watches the Suicide Squad invading the island, which we saw just a few minutes ago when I talked about it. And Cersei's sitting there eating a turkey leg, a half-eaten turkey in front of her or something, chicken or something. Some guy in like a loincloth is serving her some fruits. And she's just laying there, some little demon creatures by her feet on the ground. And she's like, I can see. No one trespasses on Cersei without being noticed. It was inevitable. I suppose some fools just can't wait to die. And again, they're kind of cursing her out, if these infidels have special powers where you need assistance. What do you intend to do about this? And we get Cersei watching Black Adam. She's like, Black Adam, didn't even know you were still alive. Rather handsome in your own dark, forbidding way. However, I didn't think you joined up the Suicide Squad just to save that pathetic Poison Ivy. And again, the Amazon people that's here, they're demanding her she answer. And again, Cersei is a witch, a goddess, a insane woman. So yeah, I don't know if you want to make demands of her. She's like, rats on a sinking ship have as much to lose as its captain, my dear. Miliza, I'd advise your commander to mount a very good defense. And I'm the only one who makes demands around here. You hear? Now go. You're supposed to be such great warriors, aren't you? Well, make war. Unless, of course, you prefer to continuing this conversation. And again, so they scurry off. And apparently the creatures that were attacking are called beastamorphs. Beastamorphs? And then we skip. Again, I'm going to kind of skip around in the book a little bit. We get some people landing on the island. We see Amazons that are killed. And we get some of the gods fighting. We get Greek and Roman gods fighting in here. We get Will Magnus, the creator of the Metal Man, rushing in. And apparently, I believe this is Ares? I'm just looking. It doesn't say who it is. Some Greek or Roman guy has met. Well, he got the power of Morpheus. I don't know if it is Morpheus or was using Morpheus' power, but he puts Will to sleep as he takes the Metal Man with him. Wonder Woman arrives, who is someone in her arms who I thought previously may have been Wonder Girl, but maybe not, because it looks like she's Troya now. Again, this is talking about stuff that happens over in Wonder Woman number 60. We're just kind of skipping through all of this. We get Animal Man. He's in Dr. Fate's tower with, this is the female Dr. Fate, Zatanna, the Phantom Stranger, a couple other people. Again, this is going on during Animal Man number 40. Again, I probably won't be covering this when I do, as I talked about earlier. I plan on covering Animal Man at some point, but only the first 26 issues or so. So I probably won't be getting to this War of the Gods coverage over there. So, and then here at the bottom, apparently Dr. Fate is saying they need to tap into some of Buddy's latent power. Like, he's like, tap? Gulp. And then at the bottom is here of page 9. We get the scene of the Suicide Squad fighting the island. And it's the scene where Major Victory is telling, I think his name's Mazer, to watch with the lasers, aim to win if possible. And he's like, gotcha, Major. And Floyd's like, to hell with it. Take out their knees. So again, the dialogue's a little different, some of the wording, but overall the sentiment's there. Major Victory is telling, try to wound with Mazer, of course, sir. And Floyd's like, he wants a dead shot. Floyd's like, the hell with that. I'm taking him out. And then we cut to a scene we didn't really see previously where Javelin and Boomerang is following Nightshade. And Joe, how'd you know about this cave? I'm followed Black Adam. Mandalore told me not to let him out of my sight. He couldn't be trusted. So I'm not sure how closely George worked with the other comic creators in the other books, but apparently he worked with John a little bit on this, because again, some of the dialogue is very, if not the same, very similar, and we're getting the continuation of that story here. So, and I like she's saying that Amanda Waller wanted her to follow Black Adam, and Javelin's like, and you thought following us would be easier than fighting out the jungle, huh, Boomerang? And as they're walking through, Black Adam throws a creature through a wall. And she's like, Black Adam, stop, damn it. We're supposed to work as a team. And I believe it's Javelin's like, save your breath, Nightshade. I have a feeling that Jackaroo couldn't care less about teamwork. It's Boomerang. What he wanted was a bloody diversion. And of course, he admitted that to Waller over in the Suicide Squad. So, and then we get, again, from kind of not necessarily from the cover, but we do get from the cover, Black Adam barging in on Cersei with all our animal creatures here, confronting her. Aha, so witch, alas, we meet face to face. It's like a mutual threat, I'm sure, Kim Adam. Unfortunately, I have little time for personal pleasures. You know me? Well, then you should be spared your sorry beast's broken bones. Anyone who is familiar with Black Adam knows that he is unstoppable and speaks in the third person. Okay, I added that last part, but... Now talk, witch. You appear no more dangerous than any other female. And again, Black Adam's from like ancient Egypt, so again, he thinks very little of females in general. So again, Cersei's just a female who he believes he is more by genetically being a guy that he's more powerful than and should be in charge of. So I want to make a GOP joke there, but I don't want to annihilate anybody. Alienate anybody. Anyways, and he's like, what strange magic do you will that has drawn me to you, that compels me to destroy you? And she's all, destroying me? Then Triss is definitely out of the question. You ask what has drawn you here. Perhaps, Dark One, this will answer your question. Recognize it? And we see a little statue, golden Egyptian statue, and she's like, recognize it, Egyptian? It hasn't been that long, has it? Well, Set sure as hell recognizes you. And all of a sudden, she does something to his mind, and she's like, what's happened? The pain. Again, I love this image of Black Adam falling to his knees, his head just pounding. We see the images around his body like he's racked in pain. Fantastic. Even if we didn't have the word balloons with him saying he's in pain, we could tell from the drawing that he's in incredible pain. And again, she kind of recaps here, the stamina of Shu, the swiftness of Hero, the strength of Ammon, the wisdom of Zoat, the power of Aton, and the courage of Mehu. I guess it occurred to Set just now valuable such power could be when his forces were remarshaled. Set thinks she's returning them to him. So apparently she's trying to take Shazam's powers away from Black Adam to give them to Set. And so he's falling to the ground, losing his power. He says, no, this cannot be set. Nothing to do with Shazam. Life's so full of surprises, isn't it? And then we get some older guy, looks like white hair. His name's Conrad, it looks like, finding a cave. And apparently it's a Dr. Kizlak. And again, I didn't read the War of the Gods. They're all the other 3 issues. I'm kind of skimming through this. This isn't really concerning about the Suicide Squad, so we're skipping past that. We get back to Animal Man. Apparently, Dr. Fate was taking some of his blood for a spell they're doing. We're kind of skimming through that. We do have the Hawks. Again, I said we saw the Hawks on the cover. We get Hawkman and Hawkwoman here. And they're talking to Batman. Kind of skipping back here on page 16. We get, again, the whole building shaking, which we saw over in the Suicide Squad. And Boomerang's all, "Cripe, mate, this whole island's rocking. Let's get the bloody howdy before it goes up." And Javelin's like, "Damn it, Boomerang, will you just shut? Holy, what the hell happened to him?" And Nightshade's like, "Don't know. It looks like he's in shock. He's babbling something. Can't make it out. Maybe Arabic or Egyptian." And as they're trying to wake him up, in quotes, because his eyes are open, so he's awake, but he's kind of incoherent. Also, he just flies off and flies out of the building. And damn it, that blasted hooligan deserting us. So you didn't see his eyes. He was scared out of his mind. And whatever it is, it's that way. And like here on the bottom of page 16, we see these, I guess the Amazonian women are shooting at these beasts as they're trapped on this ledge. And in the background, we see Black Adam zooming past. Fantastic. I love the tie-in there. And we're kind of skipping over these next couple of panels over to page 18, where we have Cersei casting a spell as a portal opens and Javelin, Nightshade, and Boomerang comes flying through. And Javelin's like, "Oh, shut the hell up. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing your screeching. You're echoing all over the stupid castle." So, "Javelin, get out of the way. You can't go there alone." "Shut up, Nightshade. Let's see how loud the witch can be with this javelin down her throat." As he throws his javelin and Cersei just makes it fly away. And it flies after Javelin, which he runs away from it. And apparently Cersei has Boomerang and Nightshade trapped so they can't move. And Javelin, he can fly, so he's flying away. And all of a sudden, she pins Javelin with his own javelin, which I'm assuming kills him off. Here on about page 18, the Javelin dies, which we didn't see over the Suicide Squad. So to see this, you'd have to read the War of the Gods 3 to know how Javelin died. Some more stuff with Wonder Woman, some more stuff in here with Animal Man. They got Animal Man standing over some smoke and magical, mystical stuff. Some more stuff with some of the gods, which we're just going to skip over. We get Lobo fighting, just glancing through here real quick. We get Lobo fighting some Amazon women. Fiddles goes, "Can a guy enjoy a little bear bashing in peace? Wait a friggin' minute, that bolt," because someone come busting in the wall and it's Black Adam standing. "That bolt, oh no. Don't tell me the geek in the cheesy red underwear actually belonged to some union. I don't know who any of you are, and frankly, I don't care. All I know is you're trespassing on holy ground, and Black Adam doesn't tolerate trespassers." And so the Amazons start shooting at him, which doesn't really do anything. Well, it hurts, apparently. Those hurt. It must have been Circe's accursed spell. I got out of the witch's tower just in time. So again, we find out here what happened is that while she was killing him, he was able to take off and still has some of his power, but he is weakened a little bit. I just almost forgot what physical pain feels like. I don't like it. And Lobo's all, "Hey, what you doing? This is a private party. You know, I'm getting pretty sick and tired of you geeks crashing on my fun. First that Captain Marvel boob, then the meat pie with the crazy rope, and now you? Well, enough of the preliminaries. You just stepped up to the top of Lobo's hit list, tough boy. I got my butt-kicking shoes on, and it's time for you and me to dance." And all of a sudden, more Amazons come blasting in, firing at him. And stupid Lobo's all, what is this, my fragging birthday? How many of you bimbos are there anyway? I ain't complaining, you understand? I'm an equal opportunity annihilator. It's just that it's all getting downright monotonous. And again, Lobo has been, from what I've heard, has been cast by Jason Momoa in the upcoming, I think, Supergirl movie, which I've been saying since he was cast originally as Aquaman. Momoa would much better be better fit as Lobo. I very much didn't like Momoa as Aquaman. I very much see him being more of a Lobo, and now he is. So I'm happy with that. But again, I like Lobo. He's a great character. It can be a bit tiring because he's got one shtick, basically just killing everything, but he's fun in doses. And all of a sudden all the Amazons get blasted by lightning or something, and Lobo's all, Fidos giz. Not bad, tough boy. I like your style. Should've left a couple for me, though. Lobo don't take kindly being cheated. And Black Adam's like, foul-smelling dolt. Cease your prattle. This was not my doing. But bring you to sign your own death warrant. No, Lobo, there's no time for that, huh? Who the hell are you talking to? And we get some, Roman, I guess? He's the son of Vulcan. Shows up, and he said he's responsible for bringing him and Black Adam there. And he's like, you? That's absurd. Black Adam's no one's puppet. Besides, what could the son of a Roman god be doing in an Egyptian temple? Like, to answer all your questions, even yours, Lobo, is inside that chapel. You recognize it, don't you, Teth Adam? Lobo's all, I don't recognize it, and I don't fragging care. All I know is that I tracked a pantsy-waisted do-gooder named Captain Marvel to this pest hole, and my tracking instincts ain't never wrong. And we go and we find Shazam, the wizard, with Billy Batson and the Metal Men surrounding Billy. And Black Adam's all, I thought you were dead. Even death's door can be open from both sides, Teth Adam. It's been a long time, my son, but I am indeed he whose name you dare not utter for fear of losing those abilities now left you. In truth, I am Shazam, just as that is the boy Billy Batson who lies under Min's altar. The boy is dying. He needs you. And you, Teth Adam, need him. And then we covered a Starman flying, fighting with Wonder Woman in the air, fighting some jets that are coming their way. The Hawks show up. Again, we get some scenes on Apocalypse because we had Darkseid on the cover. Back with the Suicide Squad stuff. We get, again, we see, looks like Sportsmaster laying with something in her. She may be dead here. But it's a scene where Floyd is being attacked by one of the were creatures, and he's like, bad dog, play dead. He shoots him. So we get to see that scene. And we get Major Victory come right. Enforcer, didn't you hear my orders? This island's breaking apart. Move. Love to, Major. But I don't feel those beasties behind you are going to make an easy retreat. As they're attacked by these creatures. Again, we cut away from there. Back Cersei. And again, we get Cersei in her thing. And again, kind of from the cover, we see the different bubbles or whatever you want to call them, showing scenes happening from elsewhere on the island. And all of a sudden, all the animal creatures, whatever, are returning to the original animal forms. They're losing their power, if you will. They're turning from beastamorphs, I think she called them, to just regular animals. And we get rabbit and armadillo, bird, monkey. And back on page 29, we get Major Victory and Floyd. And apparently Sportsmaster's still alive because he's telling Sportsmaster to move back along with Major Victory that he'll blast the monkeys. Or these monsters, they say monsters, but it gets cut off. And they see all that the Animal Men turned into creatures. And apparently this has to do with what Animal Man and Dr. Fate and Phantom Stranger and all them were doing back over in Salem that kind of cut into Cersei's powers. Back inside of Cersei's tower, again, Boomerang and Nightshade are held captive, and she's trying to free them. Meanwhile, here on page 30, we see the scene where Mazer is flying out of the tower with Ivy. And again, if I remember right, previously in the Suicide Squad book, he seemed to not know who he had. But here he's actually calling her Ivy, so he knows that this is Poison Ivy at this point. And I'm just flipping back to that comic we just talked about to see how that, because I thought he acted like he didn't know who it was. I guess not. Firehawk asked who it is, and he said he found her hanging around. It sounded like he didn't know who it was, because I found her strung up while I was zapping around. The island started shaking to pieces, so I thought I better get out. But here, when he picks her up, he knows who it is. So I don't know if he's not supposed to know who it is, or if it's just the way that John and or Kim wrote that dialogue over in Suicide Squad. But here he clearly knows who it is. And again, she's like, stuff it, Mazer. You wouldn't have had the time to cut it. You wouldn't have had to cut it so close if it wasn't that creep Count Vertigo. When I get my hands on him. And then we get some other stuff going on. And again, here on page 31, we get Pariah appearing in the sky. And this is where we ended up over at the end of the Suicide Squad. Same kind of dialogue. Oh my God, Pariah. I met him during the crisis. He's doomed to show up weeping at the sight of any great calamity or disaster. What the hell's going on? I'm afraid it's about to get worse. Again, that's on page 31 where we get that last scene appearing here. And Ben's all, thanks, Firehawk. We really need to hear that. And Count Vertigo's like, wait, something's not right about him. Is it my imagination? or it's probably not crying now, but laughing. And Pariah's busting up laughing. Hard to tell. Firehawk, maybe you should try talking to him. So Firehawk flies up, and all of a sudden he starts glowing, and he was screaming. And we got to a scene of Troya, who also appears to be in pain of some sort. And we get some stuff going on with the Greeks. The gods are fighting a little bit. Some more Starman, the Hawks. And again, I'm just skimming through the rest of this issue. And here on page, this was not numbered, 36, Diana washes up on shore. And Aquaman's like, let me see, he's talking. He's saying, darned if I know, the sea deities told me to go to South America. I cut up the off on the way, answering the same call I assumed. That's when we swam to your girlfriends here. Next thing we knew, the whole river went berserk, got caught in a whirlpool. Even I couldn't swim out of it. And we washed up here. Weird. And about this time, Nightshade comes around. And that's why I talked about Aquaman, because Nightshade comes walking up. How you think that's weird? Well, Boomerang and I are supposed to go back to Pittsburgh, for God's sake. Hey, Ixnay on the Emperte, these birds don't look all that glad to see us, you know? And the Wonder Woman and the other Amazonians are talking in Amazon. And Nightshade's, what's going on? Wouldn't you please speak English? And again, we get some more battle scene here where apparently some water is coming up out of the water. Meanwhile, jets are flying overhead. And Circe shows up with, I believe that is Hermes skeleton, but he's got Hermes' helmet on. So I'm assuming it's Hermes. Apparently Wonder Woman is coming part of the clay of the beach, which she originally came from. Again, there's a little fighting going on here. Diana gets blasted into nothingness as Circe takes off, saying, the creation will be born anew, a new Genesis, in the name of Hecate. We get some stuff with Starman and the Hawks again. And here on the last page, page 40, we're in Manhattan, where we have, I think this is Lilith, I want to say, calling for Terry, which is Donna Troy's husband. It's like, Terry, thank God I finally located you. Yes, it's Lilith. That's what I was right. I'm calling from your apartment. Something's happened. Yes, I think it has something to do with Donna. I'm not sure. No, I'm not trying to be mysterious. Please, Terry, you've got to come home. Donna's life may depend on it. And in the bed is Pariah laying there, not moving. His eyes are open next to a wedding picture of Donna and Terry. Next issue, the end. And then in the back of the book, we had some pinups. There was one of Batman busting up some of his villains. We got one of Hawkman and Hawkwoman, Shazam, and Mars fighting Ares. Again, some very nice drawings in here, some pinups, one-page pinups. Again, I was not a fan of War of the Gods to begin with, and I didn't really reread it this time, just kind of skimmed through it. It wasn't bad. I do like that this third issue kind of caught up on where the Suicide Squad was going on. It kind of tied in the Suicide Squad book, but I'm just skipping back or pulling back up the War of the Gods 4 real quick. Because I didn't really pull up information on that, but I guess I could take a quick glance through that one. Again, I do not remember why I just could not get into it, and a lot's going on with it. And I believe the Suicide Squad is pretty much out of the battle at this point. I'm skimming through the fourth issue real quick just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Suicide Squad is evolved a little bit. We get Count Vertigo fighting in here, but they don't really do much of anything per se. Dead characters rising from the grave to fight our heroes. We got the dead Aquagirl, the original Dan Garrett, Blue Beetle. Some of the Green Lanterns are appearing. Again, and I know DC will kind of redo this, the dead coming back later on in Final Night, but it happened here first. But yeah, skimming through this, again, of course, the heroes are going to win. We know that right away. Shazam, Billy Batson reappears as Shazam. I like here, again, something else I want to cover I talked about earlier, I think. Hawk and Dove, here on page 31, the dead Dove, Dawn Hall, is fighting Dawn Granger, the female Dove. Nice little tie-in there. So again, I will be talking about this when I cover Hawk and Dove at some point in the future. Once again, since Hawken is a part of this, I will be talking about War of the Gods elsewhere some other time. We get Firestorm in here, and at this point, he's the all in reddish brown with a mane of hair, kind of the bestial Firestorm, if you will, at the end of the John Ossinger's book. But yeah, looking through here, the Suicide Squad doesn't really have much more to do with the story. There's an occasional image of somebody, but the heroes win, Pariah vanishes again, and you get some more pinups. So, again, that was the War of the Gods. I think I've read the most of it now than I've read since it first came out. It just, the story itself was a little bit of a mess to me, a lot going on. Again, when I first read it, some of the issues came out of order. They were misnumbered. So you're reading issues and things aren't quite making sense because you're reading them out of order. But overall, it was okay this time. Again, I say I've only read one issue and skimmed through everything else. But it did tie into Suicide Squad. It tied into Suicide Squad a little more than it did Starman, so I had to cover a little bit more here. But to hear my coverage of the Starman incident, you can check out my Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. Actually, I'm calling it the Starman Adventure Show now. I've changed the name of that because I'm no longer covering Manhunter, but that's another story entirely. But it still shows up as the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. So if you're looking for it on the podcasts, I just covered that here recently over on that show. So that's going to do it for this episode of Task Force X. I enjoyed the artwork in both books. Again, I liked the story in Suicide Squad, the War of the Gods. It was okay. But that's going to do it for this episode. Next month, we're going to cover, probably the next 2 months, we'll cover the Mystery of the Atom. It was a 4-issue storyline, so I'll probably cover it in chunks of 2 issues. And again, as I said, Suicide Squad, sadly, at least sadly for me because I'm enjoying it. If you didn't like it, maybe it's a good thing. Sadly, we're coming to an end. Suicide Squad, as I said, only ran 66 issues. And then they had a 67th that tied into the one of the other storylines, which I've covered previously elsewhere and on here, but we'll talk about that again. So, yeah, we've got next month, we'll be covering issues 59 and 60, then 61 and 62, then there's 63, 64. So, yeah, we've probably only got 5 episodes left of this, and I may try to cover a commentary track on the Suicide Squad if I can get some time and can manage that. So, this is January. So, yeah, probably by around the middle of the year, this show will probably be ending. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Tune in next month. Again, you can check out my website, headcast.headspeaks.com. Again, excuse me, my dogs are out back going crazy for some reason. They do that at times. Headcast.headspeaks.com. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/groups/headcastnetwork. Check it out. Send me an email to taskforcex@headspeaks.com. I would love to hear what you guys think. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, you go to Patreon. It's patreon.com/headcastnetwork. And again, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to say it now. I want to thank my Patreon sponsors. You guys, again, make this a lot easier to do, make this, lets me know that people's out there and you guys are enjoying this. If you want, you can always call and leave a message. You can send an email. You can call us at 1-559-500-3182. Again, our phone number is 559-500-3182. That's the Headcast voicemail line. Call and leave a message, and I can play that on the air. But until next month, that is going to do it. So, squad mates, dismissed. Thank you for listening to another great episode of Task Force X. I can also be found rambling on my main headcast of Head Speaks, where I rant and rave about movies, comics, geek stuff, and whatever is bugging me.
Mate, you just out-crazied the Joker.
Well, I tried, Boomer, but anyways, my home on the internet is at headspeaks.com. HEADSPEAKS.com. Links to my blog, which contain follow-up information to this and every headcast, can be found there. Both Task Force X and Headspeaks are on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at headspeaks.com under Headcasts. Please feel free to email me any questions, comments, or concerns to taskforcex@headspeaks.com. And if you want to record a message, you can send it to me at taskforcex@headspeaks.com, and I'll play it on the air. I'm also on Facebook at Task Force X, and also on Google+, you can look for Task Force X under People and Pages. All titles and characters discussed are owned and copyrighted by DC Comics. I claim no ownership to the Suicide Squad, Checkmate, or Task Force X. I'm just a big fan wanting to spread the Task Force X love with everyone else. DC Comics can be found on the web at dccomics.com. Be sure to visit your local comic shop and look for Suicide Squad and Checkmate Comics. And while you're there, see what else they have that may interest you.
Mother.
Well, make sure you join us here next time for another fun-filled headcast from your friendly neighborhood Brotherhead. In the meantime, I'll see you in the funny pages.